Good morning, Janelle. Could you tell us your name?
Janelle Hebbe.
We want you to tell us about how the prayer garden started and how people use the prayer garden.
The prayer garden started because two other ladies, Mary and Kearley, who we know is passed, and Becky Boyer, and I went to a Methodist church on Allendale there in Austin, and we went line dancing there. And they had a beautiful prayer garden at that church. And that gave us the idea to have one here. So we took the idea to the council one night, and the pastors were Pastor Tom and Pastor Keith, who was the time frame, and they approved it. And so we got started, and we had a representative from the council on our committee as well, and who's no longer lives here, but anyway, it doesn't matter. And so that got us started on it, making plans of where it should be and all kinds of things,
Setting up the fund, and it's been used.
Asking for the money, absolutely.
People can use it 24/7, but it's also been a place of reflection for the Walk to Calvary. And also, we have the blessing of the pets, which is not in the prayer garden, but it's adjacent to the prayer garden. So
Exactly.
When people from the community come, they are able to see that.
Oh, if I can add too, when it started, I remember when Ralph Kirkley was here, he told us, and I don't know how he knew this, but he saw people like at dusk or dawn or nighttime that weren't necessarily members, people that just saw it and went in and used the prayer garden. And I know they used to take the day school there for things every once in a while. So
it's a nice asset on our campus.
Absolutely. And we wanted to do a labyrinth next to it, but we just never got that far to do that. So we don't.
It was a good idea.
Yeah.
So we know in the 150 years of our congregation that women have played a role. In fact, one of their first jobs was to take care of the cemetery in the very early years. And they've had different organizations, the Taboo Verein, they had the Ladies' Aid, they had the Sewing Circle, and you have been very involved in the WELCA, which is Women of the Evangelical Lutheran Church of America.
Absolutely.
And I think you've said many times that all the women of the congregation are actually members, but you have been spearheading a lot of different projects and being a leader. So tell us a little bit about the WELCA mission. I know that we've had, 3 circles?
We currently have 4.
Okay, tell us the names of those circles.
Well, there's the Rebecca Circle and the Mary Circle, Elizabeth, and the Craft Circle. And now the Craft Circle is a little misleading right now. They meet for Bible study, but they are no longer able to actually make crafts. So,
and they made crafts, and then they had a room that the congregational members could purchase items of the things that they created.
Yeah, and they used their money from that to make bags of toiletries and such for the clients of the food pantry. They would be in the brown bags, and they would take them there, and then at some point the people that work in the food pantry would give them to the clients that came. So they used their money very wisely for others.
One of the missions of WELCA also is they provide receptions following a funeral for the family. Share a little bit about that experience.
Yeah, I think that's probably, we do a lot of, of course, I'm really big on WELCA. I think we do a lot of good things, and I think that's one of the very top ones there because it is so, when a funeral occurs, people they need to be together. They need something to talk to each other, not just go home and be by themselves. I'm really big on that.
And so they've made sandwiches. They bring cakes.
We make sandwiches. It's usually a really light meal, sandwiches and chips. And we have one lady that calls for desserts, and we get desserts from congregation members. So that includes more people than that are active in WELCA, because we have the people that are bringing the cakes in and everything, and they don't have to be part of the WELCA group, as we call WELCA. So, yeah, and we've had many, afterwards, we've had many people compliment us and thank us for it, as well as giving us a donation.
That's good.
Yeah.
Another arm of the WELCA group is the quilters. And tell us a little bit about the quilting group.
Well, the quilting group, I didn't start it with them at the beginning, but I've been with them for a number of years now. And we make quilts that are sent through Lutheran World Relief to countries that need, we're told they use them not only, you think of a quilt, okay, I go to bed at night and put on a quilt. Yes, but they also sometimes, their housing is so bad that they use them for putting up the walls and the roofs. It's unbelievable what the people in some of the countries do with the quilts and need them for that.
And so once a year that the big truck comes and we load them all up?
Well, we did that for 5 years here, but now we no longer do that. We take them to another location where the same thing happens that you're talking about. And they eventually get put on this big 18-wheeler, or a couple of them, however many it takes. They're taken, from what I was told, to Fort Worth to be put on the train. A train then takes them up to New Windsor, Maryland, and that's where the big warehouse is for Lutheran World Relief. They have 2 of them. There's also one in, I believe it's Minnesota. I'm not sure, Milwaukee. I'm not sure of the town. Anyway, there's more than one, but that's, yeah.
And now we have a potholders group that has just started.
Yeah, and you were talking earlier about a person doesn't have to necessarily be, in a circle or something, and that was started by a lady who does not come to the circle meeting, but she's very much a woman of our church, and she brought us this idea to make the potholders, and they're going to be given to the food pantry clients at Thanksgiving. And she's had a big it's become very, very popular, and she's got a lot more potholders than she anticipated to begin with. So, and I've never done them before, and I'm doing them, and I enjoy doing them.
So the WELCA group, actually, they are biblically based. They have one meeting a month that they have Bible study, and
Absolutely.
then they have these other activities of service and action that they do. At one time, Immanuel had a domino group. Tell us about that. Was another fellowship activity.
Well, the domino group was led by Becky Boyer, and when I started with it, we had 3 tables at one time, but like so many things, it dwindled due to age and health issues and whatnot. And we were playing at the time that we were hit by the pandemic, and we have not gotten back to that yet. I don't know that we will, to tell you the truth, unless we have more players. But it was a good group. We met on Sunday afternoon. Back when, even like Patrick Kramer would come and he'd play. Anybody and everybody that wanted to play. But a lot of people, they know dominoes, but they don't necessarily know 42, and they were playing 42. But we always tell people, if y'all we don't have to play the same game. You can be, one table can do this and one table can do that. It was a good group.
When you were a small girl, your grandparents lived right across the road from the church on what is currently Gatlinburg, and a charter member of the congregation, Conrad Pfluger, it was his homestead.
Yeah.
Do you remember as a small girl hearing the church bell ring, or any recollections of coming to Sunday school?
I remember the church bell a lot, and particularly when there was a death in the congregation, they always rang the bell. You know that. And as far as the bell ringing, that was quite a nice farm over there. You could see the church, and they put the 3 crosses that you probably see down at the cemetery at Lent or at Easter, but they were up on the hill there, and you walked out the front of the church, and there were the crosses.
So nice. They were across the...
They're in his pasture there.
Yes.
Yeah, up toward... It was yeah, up to the hill. Because when you walk that little road up to his house, or their house, it was a little road. I mean, it was inclined a little bit.
Right. And what was interesting about that farm is when the first church was actually dedicated, the wooden church, they had the service on this campus, and then everybody walked over there to Conrad Pfluger's home for the meal and the fellowship and reception afterwards, because there was no place here to have that. Thank you, Janelle, for sharing your ideas. And what we'd like to know is what Immanuel has meant to you in your nearly 80 years. You're not there yet, but you have been a very faithful member.
Well, it's thinking about that, because I think that was something I was needing to talk about. I guess it was a constant, always here, and you hear people. One thing that gets me is people will say they're looking for churches and they hear a sermon and they base that on the sermon. Well, I base it on what does the church offer for the youth? What do they offer for the women, the men, whatever, as well as that sermon on Sunday morning. And I think because of that and getting involved in quite a few things, it's just meant everything to me. My parents brought me here young, and, I was baptized and confirmed here and all that. And so, but there have been time or two when I've talked to a pastor, and
about concerns.
About concerns, thank you. Yeah. And at least I feel like I can do that. And it's just been, like I said, it's just kind of like we think, we can always pray to God, He's there. Well, our churches, thank goodness, our church building here, and the pastors and everybody, the congregation members and everybody, and a lot of relatives, but a lot that are not. I've learned to know so many nice people through our church.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.